Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Dr. Theresa NIcassio Show. This is a place of inspiration, education, and hope for a kinder, healthier, and more sustainable world. On this program, we join together in community to talk about the things that matter most to you, as well as your loved ones and our planet. Even the hard to talk about and controversial topics like we have today. This is going to be a lot of fun. This program is made possible because of the generous support of our show sponsor, New Roots Herbal, the makers of Acidophilus Ultra, and countless other high-quality products. Anyway, you may remember on the last show I told you about their free online and print magazine called Flourish that's filled with all kinds of great recipes and information, articles about health, wellness, and so forth. But what I didn't mention, I probably should have, is that for the past 3.5 years I've been a regular contributor to the magazine, contributing wellness articles, recipes, and so forth to the magazine for each of the issues. For example, I want to give you a heads up for this one. In this current issue, along with a lot of other really great information and recipes about a few topics, you'll also find the article that I wrote that gives you some hot tips about how to travel safely if you have food allergies and sensitivities. I just myself got back from a trip, and I'm getting ready for another one in a little while, and it's comes straight from my heart, and I've got some great info in there too. If you're like me and you're wanting to gallivant around the globe a bit, especially this time of year, but you live with food restrictions, it's crucial to know how you can do so safely. Anyway, to access the online magazine from anywhere in the world or to learn more about New Roots Herbal, visit their webpage at newrootsherbal.com. If you'd also like to be a sponsor for this show, contact me directly through my TheresaNIcassio.com website, or my email is Theresa@TheresaNIcassio.com, and that is Theresa with an H, E-R-E-S-A, N like Nancy, I-C-A, 2 S's, like Sam, I-O.com. So Theresa@TheresaNIcassio.com. Be sure to tune in next time when we'll be continuing with our Empowered Health series when the author of Hope Never Dies, Rick Shapiro, will be with us talking about what he learned from terminal late-stage cancer patients who actually beat the odds. They were told to pack up their bags. It was time to say goodbye, and they turned that around. And also the renowned cancer specialists who helped them do it and are helping a lot of people do it. It's going to be an amazing show. It'll be informative. It's going to be inspiring, and so you're going to want to be sure to let others you know who have been touched by cancer, as well as yourself if it's touching you. But let folks know about that show. It's going to be a really important one. Then on the following show, we're going to have Nadine, the gluten-free RN, with us sharing the latest surprising research discoveries about how the human body responds to gluten. But today, we've got another awesome show for you as we're continuing with our Empowered Health series with probably the most taboo topic we've ever featured on the program. I'm so excited. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about everything you ever wanted to know about farts. Or maybe didn't really want to know, but that's okay. But we're afraid to ask. Anyway, a few months ago, I was, it's just by I don't know how it happened. It was meant to be, I think. I stumbled upon, I was on Facebook, and in my feed, I saw this doctor talking about farts. And he's super passionate. And as soon as I heard him speak, and he's very educated and respectful and funny, just this wonderful person, I knew immediately that he would be a great guest to share with all of you to clear the air about farts. This is one of those things that everybody laughs about, but no one really understands that there's a lot of information here. A little bit about him. Our guest, Dr. David Miller, is a licensed naturopathic medical doctor in Saugeen Shores, Ontario, who is fiercely committed to educate and empower the public around their health. After completing his honors science degree at the University of Waterloo in 2003, Dr. David went on to complete the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine's 4-year ND program. And as if that wasn't enough, he also pursued further education in homeopathy with some of the world's leading homeopaths, such as Dr. Jan Schulten, Lou Klein, Dr. Rajan Sankaran, and the Bombay Group during his studies. Like our previous guest, Dr. Jill Carnahan, we've had her on 4 times. Love her. We'll hopefully have her again one day. What a privilege. But like Dr. Jill, Dr. David, who I also love, sees the benefit that both traditional and conventional approaches to medicine have to offer, as well as the value of patient-centered collaboration and the vision of helping patients take greater ownership of their own health. For you to take more ownership of your own health, you need information to do that. In his private naturopathic practice, David focuses primarily on the gut-brain-microbiome connection, using nutrition, homeopathy, and acupuncture as key elements in his work. He also designed something called NMRx, a comprehensive holistic naturopathic framework that goes beyond the physical by incorporating meaning, purpose, and spirituality. He really speaks right to my heart here as an existential psychotherapist. In addition to his private practice, Dr. David has worked as a consultant and research associate in the natural products industries of Canada and Australia, as a teaching assistant at the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine, and as a speaker in his community. Over the past 8 years, Dr. David has also designed and developed something called SORLEX, SORLEX. You're going to want to mark that. It's a homeopathic medicine licensed by Health Canada for the treatment of cold sores. Now, we're not going to be focusing on cold sores today, but I'm telling you, this is really cutting edge and exciting, and I'm going to have him at least mention it at some point during today's interview. David, we are so privileged to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. It's just such a treat.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I remember when you called me and said, David, we need to have you on this talk, and I was just really honored. I thought before I did this talk on farts, this is either the best or the worst thing I'm ever going to do. So I'm hoping it's the best thing I've ever done. So I'm privileged to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I don't know of any other fart doctors, so I'm really excited to learn about fartology, and we're just making this up, folks, you know. But actually, it's important enough, and we may as well have some fun with it. So, I always like to start with your why. How did you get interested in gut health in the first place, David?
Yeah, so it's hard not to be interested to some degree in gut health as a naturopathic doctor. So it's the cornerstone of traditional naturopathic medicine, and even Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. This is the father of modern medicine. So it's hard not to get into it as a naturopath, and I just kept going deeper because that's sort of my style. I like to find out why, and keep asking. And also, for the most part, it's not very well treated by most conventional medical doctors. So there's a need for it, and I think a naturopathic doctor or a functional medicine doctor like Dr. Jill is like a great sort of addition to a comprehensive approach to your medical team, and we do very well with gastrointestinal health. And I also had a history of IBS, IBD symptoms when I was quite young. So there's lots of reasons why.
Yeah. So what about farts? I mean, other than embarrassing, what are they, and what actually makes us fart?
Okay, yeah. Farts are I read this in a journal. It said they are an invariable consequence of metabolism. So everyone farts is basically what we're saying, and they are for the most part produced by the bacteria that reside within us. And we could do a whole other show about the bacteria that are within us, but there's 10 times as many bacteria in us as there is our own cells, which is just mind-boggling. And there's 100 times as much DNA in our bodies that is of bacterial origin that's that's contributing to our health, and they're making gases within us. So, the majority of what the products of flatulence or flatus, which you can call it when it exits the body, or farts as we like to call it, more colloquially or conventionally, it's basically the product of bacteria. Now, some of the fart, actually, some of the material may come from aerophagia, which is, swallowing of air, which happens naturally, often when we eat too fast or drink too fast. So some comes from that, and that would be coming out in the fart as nitrogen gas, but there's lots of other gases. There's oxygen, methane, or methane, depending on how you pronounce it, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen, and nitrous oxide.
Yeah. Well, I heard somewhere that only like 1% of those gases is the sulfur that makes it stink. Everything else is pretty much odorless. Is that really the case?
That is the case. So you stole some of my thunder there. It's true that the hydrogen sulfide, so the sulfurous compounds that come out, which they probably come to less than 1% of the volume of a fart. But that's the part that we remember, right? Usually, when we get a malodorous fart, or whether it's yours or someone else's, what you're smelling is only 1% of it. The majority of that fart is odorless. And so it's just those sulfurous sort of compounds that are coming out and making the malodorous nature that is so associated with farts and so part of the taboo. I think it's less about the sound of the fart coming out. It's the malodor that really throws people off.
Yeah, well, especially when it's close to those silent killers.
Absolutely.
You'd have the sound, and it still evokes the same reaction.
Absolutely, and then there's also, it's funny, there's so many, I was delving into the research about this, because, look, there's my own personal experience, there's my sort of things I'm trying to figure out from what I know about the gut and the microbiome. And then I went to the studies. I read this. There's a lot of studies, Theresa, on farting. It's crazy. So there's actually some companies have tested out in studies that are in PubMed, like a high-end journal or amalgamation of journals, about using these charcoal underwear.
I've never heard of them.
So you can actually, I think they're marketed in the U.S. I don't know where else, but basically charcoal can absorb odors, and so they actually did studies where they had people express gas or fart and measured how much was absorbed in the charcoal underwear versus those without, and it's wild. The stuff actually works. Like these charcoal pantaloons, they called them in the study, they worked. So it seems funny, but there's a lot of science out there, which is really, really interesting.
That is interesting. So those pantaloons, are they made for both men and women, or are they like unisex? What are they?
I believe they're made for men and women, but they didn't sound very comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I'm also wondering about, because when you mentioned about the charcoal ones, I was thinking, how do you launder them and reuse them, and are they one-time use kind of thing, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know the details. I was just so amazed that they were actually studying these things, and one of the conclusions of another study was how farting in airplanes is a problem, because you have a lot of people in a small area. You can't really move around too much, exchange the air much, so, and farts happen, the chances are, and everyone farts, and they happen all the time, about 14 to 18 times per day if you don't have a problem. So, the chances of, Kim Kardashian farting during this talk is pretty high. Everyone does it, and it happens all the time. But
sorry for outing you, Kim.
But the truth is, on this study, the conclusion was, we think that they should put charcoal in the seat cushions of the airplane seats. That was their suggestion.
That's brilliant, huh?
It is brilliant, because, they happen. I think that's what they're saying. They accept that these things happen. It's not really good to hold them in. You're supposed to let them out. There's social, misgivings with it. So the best solution is absorb it with a charcoal seat cushion.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So real quickly, you just mentioned about it's not good to hold them in. I wanted to ask about that. I had actually my brother-in-law. He saw that I was doing the show, and he commented about how he was in a group, and they had a whole 2-hour session about the importance of not holding back your farts, but focusing on how it connects with actually emotions. That when you repress that, then it's like you can't. It's like it's hard to even express emotions and so forth. But from a physical health perspective, what are some of the risks, if any, or what are the issues if you do hold them back?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to go back to basics here because I didn't see any studies specific to this. But to me, I'll go with grandma wisdom. My grandma says to let them out, and I'll go with just nature. Like they're supposed to come out. That it's a totally normal thing to do. It's not normal to keep them in. So they're supposed to come out. What we have to do is accept that, okay, maybe I'm going through a period of flatulence. Higher degrees of flatulence depending on so many issues. Because farting is just one aspect of the overall picture, which is partly what I wanted to talk about too, Theresa. Is yeah, we can focus on farting, but to me it just fits into the overall picture. It's a symptom. So, yeah, holding them in is not going to be good for your health. I can pretty much tell you that intuitively, and I'm sure there's some evidence to back it up, and maybe it's contributing to increased colonic distension, which may contribute to diverticulosis and things like that. But really, we're supposed to let them out. The long-term game here is always to try and minimize the pain that goes along with them. They're going to come, but let's try and minimize the discomfort that comes with them.
Right. So they're there, they happen, and we will be talking. I'd love to learn more about a little later about how what the factors are that really are underlying, but in terms of just on that superficial level, or not so superficial, but some farts really reek, and some aren't so stinky. I'm just wondering, maybe the holding them in, maybe they ferment more or whatever. Any thoughts about what might contribute to why some farts are so much stinkier than others?
Yeah, so again, it's going to be dependent to some degree on the bacteria that are within you, so your microbiome. Some bacteria actually make hydrogen sulfide, but the interesting thing about hydrogen sulfide is that we make some of it ourselves. And it's actually we're finding that, I don't know if you find this a lot in your idea of health and medicine too, but it actually comes out of the fact it's not like full, across the board, hydrogen sulfide is so bad. In high amounts, it's bad. But it's actually, in some amounts, it's actually necessary. It's what they call a gasotransmitter. So it's a signal transmitter. So, yes, it does get out of hand sometimes, and I think that's what we deal with as practitioners, whether it's mental health or physical health, trying to keep things within some variance, some variance of health, some balance. But, if you're having excessive, really stinky farts, you don't need to be a gastroenterologist to know that you should probably do something, change something up. And that could be very, very simple because it starts with food, because the food is what determines the bacteria to a large extent, and then the bacteria determine the gases to a large extent. So we can just go back to, looking at cookbooks like yours, looking at other really good sort of, dietary guidelines to change the bugs, which will change the farts. And will there be a discomfort? Yes, because the bugs that are, creating those gases, those hydrogen sulfide and other sort of pungent gases, if you look at it from a nature perspective, they are there for a reason. They're there because the food has allowed them to be there. Maybe you have a too tolerant immune system. You have a leaky gut. And, nature doesn't take sides. She just, if it is allowed to be there, it will be there. The bugs will be there. So there will be a discomfort probably if you take antimicrobials or antibiotics or probiotics or even just change your diet. I'm doing an elimination diet right now, and my flatulence has been crazy because there's changes going on. So the little guys that live in my guts are not happy. I was hoping we can talk about it more in the context of food sensitivities later, but can you just describe briefly for our listeners, because some of you I know out there know what an elimination diet is, but some of you don't, and there's many different variations of it, but
but it really is the gold standard. Can you talk a little bit about what the food, kind of the elimination diet is, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. So you hit the nail on the head there. There's many diets that are called under the group, broadly elimination diet, but the elimination diet is basically where we take away all the most probable problems, food problems that may be occurring with someone. So it's all the ones that a lot of people would think of. So your dairy, your eggs, some of your lower quality meats, even some other meats like beef and pork, some canned meats, all your sort of processed food. You take away sugar, you take away corn, you take away soy, you take away maybe oranges, some of those citrus fruits, leaving most citrus fruits there. And you're allowed chicken, and you're allowed rice, and you're allowed other fowl and wild game. And what we're doing here is, instead of getting lost in the details, what we're trying to do here is eliminate all the things that naturopaths and other sort of diet specialists have realized over time are the most irritable for people. And then what we do is we remove them for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then so it's healing in and of itself. And then what really happens is interesting. After that, we reintroduce systematically things that might be causing problems. So we'll introduce wheat first, or introduce milk, or introduce something else systematically, so you figure out what triggers the problem in you. You be your own lab.
Right. Well, we can carry on and talk more about that, as well as the implications for the what may be irritating the gut and so forth. Talking about the microbiome. So when we return, because we do need to go for a break. So more about fartology with Dr. David Miller when we return. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Acidophilus Ultra from New Roots Herbal is your go-to product for great health. To maintain potency, Acidophilus Ultra is protected by a natural water-based enteric coating. This daily probiotic supports your health in so many ways. It helps boost your immune system, aids digestion and bloating, and that's just for starters. So remember the name, Acidophilus Ultra from New Roots Herbal. Get some now. To find a store near you, visit newrootsherbal.com. That's newrootsherbal.com.
Audiobooks gives you instant access to over 50,000 of the best sellers and hottest book titles in romance, mystery, fiction, and many other genres. Just visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Audiobooks to get started.
YumFoodForLiving.com is the place to get easy, allergy-free recipes, all free of sugar, gluten, and dairy. But that's not all you'll get when you visit YumFoodForLiving.com. You'll get resources for all kinds of things like wellness articles, videos, podcasts, a blog, all to help you create easy, healthy living. There's even a 50-page downloadable book introducing you to the philosophy of Yum. Don't wait. Visit YumFoodForLiving.com. YumFoodForLiving.com. That's YumFoodForLiving.com.
If you like to spend your television viewing time learning about some of the things that you may have missed in history class, or if history was your favorite subject, then you should check out the link to the History Channel on the HealthyLife.net advertiser page. Order DVD sets by series or by subject matter right from our homepage while you still enjoy your favorite HealthyLife.net show.
Being inspired by a speaker while learning everyday positive information that you can use to help your life is exactly what Dr. Theresa NIcassio does when she speaks in front of your group. From healthcare professionals to special needs parenting and everything in between, Dr. Theresa NIcassio can customize topics for your group on everything from health to psychology. To book Dr. Theresa NIcassio as a speaker for your group, visit YumFoodForLiving.com or call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
You're listening to HealthyLife.net, the radio network that brings positive talk with positive change to make your world a little better.
Welcome back to the Dr. Theresa NIcassio Show. We're here today with naturopath Dr. David Miller talking about fartology. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about farts or flatulence or flatula. We have all kinds of fancy names for it, but it's a really, really important topic. And just before the break, Dr. David was talking about food elimination diet, the elimination diet protocol, and it's really something if you don't know about it to know about. But I asked David if he could talk a little bit about why you would want to do that. Why would you want to take some of your favorite foods out of your regular eating protocol or whatever? And so, can you start with that, David?
Yeah, absolutely. So I use the elimination diet a lot in practice, and basically if someone's willing to do it, because it's difficult, like you're saying, why would you want to remove all the things that you love to eat and really, really enjoy from a just, sort of enjoyment of life perspective. So the reason I use it all the time is because it's so powerful, Theresa. And it's really, really inexpensive, and you learn from it, too. So it's diagnostic and healing and inexpensive. And I really, really like it because of all those attributes. Now, another thing to maybe compare it to, maybe people have heard of food sensitivity testing. And I used to do a lot more food sensitivity testing in my practice, but it's not inexpensive, and I find that the results are not as good as I get with the elimination diet, and they're not as empowering. When you do the elimination diet, you've really done something, and you've learned experientially exactly what's going on with your health, and you have a little bit more wisdom than getting a piece of paper that has a red, yellow, or green color line on it with, some allergy to something you've never eaten before. So, not to say that food sensitivity testing is not useful. It's totally part of the picture, but if I had to pick one thing, it would have to be elimination diet that everyone does before seeking out a lot of extra help. It'll clear up so many problems.
Yeah, can you describe just in a little more detail? Because you talked about how you take out the kind of the big kahunas, like in the back of my book. I have like this whole thing of all of those, a lot of the most common big kahunas from your diet, and then one by one you reintroduce them. But can you talk a little bit more? Because it took me 3 times, David, when I did it, 3 times to do the reintroduction properly, and that's really where the juice is. Can you talk a little bit about that and how we don't necessarily know immediately, like that day. It may take 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because you think of the elimination diet just as a thing in and of itself. You did your 3 weeks and you're done. Wipe your hands clean, you're done. No, what you've done there is invested in some ability to diagnose in yourself when you reintroduce these, and then when you reintroduce them, like you're saying, you may not get symptoms right away. You may get symptoms the next day, and those symptoms can be all over the place. They can be headaches, they can be joint pain, they can be, like brain fog, it can be mood problems, it can be sleep problems. More logically, maybe for some, your bowels may be doing crazy things when you ingest something that you're not supposed to have. Because remember, we've got the neurological and the immune system going berserk sometimes when we eat something that we're not supposed to. So it's really hard. I give everyone like a handout that says, here are the areas that may go awry when you reintroduce something over that 2 or 3 day period. And that's just how I do it, Dr. Theresa. It may be other people do it differently, but I do 2 or 3 days for one food and then move on to the next food after that if there's no problem.
Yeah, and linking it with farting is one of the very, very clear and easy to diagnose signs when it's like you can get, because I find that when you do the elimination, that the farting really reduces, and then when you start reintroducing, you really notice the changes in the flatulence as one of the many signs. Headaches. When I did it, all my migraines were totally gone. I was 45 years old before I discovered that my migraines I had my entire life since I was a young child were optional, and it wasn't until I did the elimination diet, and that really was a turning point for me.
Yeah, and maybe just one final thought from my side on the elimination diet too is that what you don't realize over the course of the elimination period is that you're getting better incrementally, day by day, hour by hour, and you get better to the point where you're like, maybe you have, and within that time you have like maybe 2 days in, 3 days in, you get a bit of like a detox reaction. You feel like absolute crap, and then you go beyond that time, and then you slowly are getting better and better, so that when you then eat the triggering food, it's stepping down from such a high level of wellness that you now sense it, whereas before you were already so low that you didn't sense it. You could eat a Big Mac one day and eat a Big Mac the next day, and you're not going to feel good the first day or the second day. But when you've been eating so clean for a while, and then you eat something that you're not supposed to, your body tells you pretty quickly that ain't for you.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm really glad you bring that up, because that confuses people sometimes. I thought I was better, and whoa, I'm like more reactive than I was before. It's just, you're just more sensitive because things have been cleaned up a bit. So all this, then, you're talking about the gases and the bacteria and all the, kind of the byproducts, if you will, the gases of that. What does gut bacteria have to do with flatulence? Can you just speak about that as we're talking about the hot topic of the microbiome, which is really, really becoming, just really a lot more information coming out about that now.
Yeah, so it's a good thing when we eat these foods that make us farty. They tend to be like good foods. That's the irony of the whole thing, and that should reinforce the point that farting is not inherently bad. Right? The foods that we're eating that make us farty are generally like fibers, polysaccharides, and things that actually we need to get to the colonic bacteria to feed them, because then they make short-chain fatty acids for us, and it's like a nice economy down there. Everyone's happy. But there's just there's some byproducts. There's nothing's made without some waste. No energy is really made without some waste. And so that's what's going on down there. We're eating relatively healthy foods. That's what's really irritating about flatulence. I find sometimes people are eating the right foods, but the wrong bacteria get a hold of them, or we've got too much of one bacteria and too much of another, or we've got some underlying condition which makes these healthy foods, which the bacteria normally feast on, like polysaccharides and good plant fibers and things like that. They're creating gases in their normal, that's what they're supposed to do. That's just the chemistry going on. But it can get out of hand, and a lot of the problem with flatulence is actually not the gases that are made. So they've done these studies where they inject the equal amount of gas into a healthy person and IBS or someone like a very flatulent person. Equal amount of gas, totally different symptoms. So it's not the amount of gas; it's actually a problem with the structures in the guts, where they can't deal with the distension as much, and there's more of a sensitivity to pain in those who suffer with flatulence.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes me think about, and Dr. Pazzano talked a little bit about some of the fecal transplant. That's another big area. The fecal transplant work, where they have there's that classic study a lot of you listening may know about, with what they called the skinny rat fat rat experiment, where they took fecal transplants and put them in the opposite rats, and they swapped. So the fat rat became a skinny rat, and the skinny rat became a fat rat. So just that sense of bio-individuality. We're all different, and the centrality of the microbiome is going to be really important. It's important to think about and to honor that. But we do need to go to a break, and I'm hoping we can maybe talk a little bit more about what you're talking about specifically when there is that distension and it is more problematic, and also start talking about solutions. What can help when it is a very uncomfortable situation. So with that, guys, we will be returning shortly with the Fart Doctor. Don't go away.
There's a book that makes it so easy to embrace a healthy, gluten-free lifestyle, even kids will like it. Filled with heartwarming stories, Food as medicine health tips, easy allergy-free recipes, and creative culinary inventions. The award-winning book, Yum, by Dr. Theresa NIcassio, is your source for all of this and more. So make gluten-free living easy, tasty, and fun. Get Yum, plant-based recipes for a gluten-free diet at Amazon.com. Or visit yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
You have too little time to shop. So try Farm Fresh to You. They deliver organic food the way nature intended, delivered straight to your home or office, economically. Visit our web advertiser page and click on Farm Fresh to You now.
When you have a food allergy or dietary limitation, Dr. Theresa NIcassio knows it's hard to give up the foods you love, so she decided to put on her chef hat and give you affordable, personalized culinary consultations that will light up your taste buds. You'll explore substitute ingredients so you can enjoy your favorite foods again. She'll even help you make food preparation easy and guide you on your path to healthy living. And to get started, all you have to do is call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
If you're not in the U.S., listen up. SureTrader is one of the most trusted and reliable names in share trading. With 6-to-1 leverage and other perks, SureTrade is the best for penny stocks and day trades. To find out more, visit our advertiser page and click on the SureTrader banner.
Yumfoodforliving.com is the place to get easy allergy-free recipes, all free of sugar, gluten, and dairy. But that's not all you'll get when you visit Yumfoodforliving.com. You'll get resources for all kinds of things like wellness articles, videos, podcasts, a blog, all to help you create easy, healthy living. There's even a 50-page downloadable book introducing you to the philosophy of Yum. Don't wait. Visit Yumfoodforliving.com. Yumfoodforliving.com. That's Yumfoodforliving.com.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Dr. Theresa NIcassio Show. If you're just tuning in, we have with us today Canadian naturopathic physician Dr. David Miller, courageously talking about the taboo topic of farts. He's sharing with us important health information about this universal bodily function that so often is more just in general cloaked in shame and awkward humor. Before the break, we were talking a bit about the microbiome and the role, that some of the flatulence is, it's just a natural bodily function. But then, David, you were mentioning that there can be times when the distension is much more uncomfortable and more severe. And can we start with that? And why does that happen? What's different? And what can people do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some good things to take home from this, in the fact is we all, whether you're healthy or suffer from flatulence or IBS, we all produce about the same amount of gases on average, which is really interesting. I thought for sure it would be that someone with IBS is going to produce a lot more gases. This is not generally the case. As those studies have shown, when you put the same amount of gas in, someone who's healthy, they just have less problems with it. So this brings in the idea of perhaps there's just more what they call visceral sensitivities. So, and this could be mediated via the gut-brain axis. Remember, there's such a connection between the gut and the brain. So, maybe someone who has IBS just has that visceral hypersensitivity. So the same amount of gas just really, really throws them off, and then that sends signals to the brain too, through that gut-brain bidirectional axis. The other thing is, the small intestine is not as accustomed or built for distension, which can happen with gas production. The colon is much more compliant to increases in gas volume or pressure. And so in general, that's across the board, whether you're healthy or unhealthy, however we're defining that. Our small intestine is going to be much more uncomfortable if the gases are produced in that area versus whether they're produced in the colon. And so there's more compliance in the colon, less compliance in the small intestines, and those, the stretching and lack of compliance causes, discomfort, severe discomfort, which you and I've experienced it, and I'm sure everyone's experienced it, especially if they suffer from IBS.
Well, that just makes me think about, the inflammation in the gut from if there is some food sensitivities or other things, or leaky gut, and where the integrity of the lining of particularly the small intestine. And I'm even wondering if there's parts of the small intestine that are more vulnerable, like the duodenum is. All of it has a lot of neurologic material, but if there may be differences there in terms of if something is injured, for example, and inflamed, then if I have a scrape on my arm and someone touches it, it hurts a lot more than if I don't have a scrape on my arm, even if it's the same touch. So I'm just thinking that there may be something as practical as that going on.
Absolutely. I mean, there's going to be some more inflammation where there's perhaps some damage to the gut from toxins, from bacteria. And those bacteria, which, are high, I don't think we said this, we probably should, the bacteria are highly concentrated in the large intestine, and that's mainly where they're supposed to be. As you go up from the large intestine, sort of reverse of what you'd think when you talk about the digestive system, go up through the small intestine from the lower parts, it gradually gets less and less until you get to the stomach and everything. But one of the problem areas is probably small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and we won't go down that rabbit hole, but it is really important to bring up that there's probably a lot of the times going on with people who are suffering with flatulence, a lot of the bugs have probably crawled up through that ileocecal valve into the lower part of the small intestine, sort of like they've gone and it's just taken over some space in the small intestine where they're really not supposed to be, and then they can sort of crawl up from there, and we get all the symptoms of IBS when we have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And like you're saying, this is going to lead to toxins, and then when we have toxins, we have oxidative stress, and when we have oxidative stress and we have inflammation, then the inflammation leads to tissue changes, and then we're going to get pain. So it all fits together, and you can go in there at various stages and try and change things, but it all fits together.
Right. Well, that's so. For those of you with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, you may have heard something called SIBO. It's the same thing, if you're wondering. And I know we're going to be having Nadine on the gluten-free RN in a couple months, and she's going to be talking about some of the new discoveries. But I know with some of the work from Alessio Fasano and Harvard Research looking at gluten, that how the protein doesn't break down properly, and 5 of those big fragments have profound impacts, and one of them is inflammation, one of them is overreaction of kind of the immune system, one of them is apoptosis, programmed cell death, and then 2 of them cause the leaky gut. They open up or other causes of leaky gut where it stimulates the zonulin. And those of you who have heard Dr. Fasano's show or gone to his page on my website, you've I'm sure seen lots about that. But how the zonulin is something that we all have, but it gets triggered by gluten, it turns out, and what that does is it opens up the windows and doors of the intestine, and it lets stuff in and out, and it creates problems. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how that might relate to flatulence, if at all? I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it here.
Well, I mean, I'll just go back to basics, really. Like what you're saying is these foods, whether it's gluten or other things, and gluten has got to be one of the prime suspects for so many of us, or maybe other things in wheat, which again we could go down the rabbit hole for that. But these things are causing structural problems to the gut. And we know one of the first things we learn in histology is structure and function are related. So when the structure is compromised, then the functions are going to be compromised. And when the structure is compromised, it's obviously going to be conducive to bacteria thinking this is a nice place to make a home. We have proper amount of immune cells there normally. We have the proper amount of villi, and so that's like the folds and everything in the intestines. When the structure is intact, we get a happy little colony of us hanging out with bacteria because we need them. We can't live without these bacteria. But when they get out of hand, it's probably because we have a problem with the structure. And a simple maybe analogy would be when you have a mouse problem in your house, you have somewhere for the mouse to live, and it has food. Otherwise, you don't have a mouse problem. And we can sort of make that similar analogy. We've probably got a problem in the structure of the gut, and the foods are there to feed those bugs.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering. We had, I don't know if you heard Jessica Renfre's show. Dr. Was talking about the water fasting, and it's also one way to starve off those buggers. I know we need to be taking a little break, and maybe when we come back, we can talk a little bit about some of the things that might help. Whether probiotics help, digestive enzymes, any of those kinds of things. So folks, just stick around. We need to take just one more short break. More wisdom from the Fart Doctor when we return, and we'll look forward to chatting in a moment.
Acidophilus Ultra from New Roots Herbal is your go-to product for great health. To maintain potency, Acidophilus Ultra is protected by a natural water-based enteric coating. This daily probiotic supports your health in so many ways. It helps boost your immune system, aids digestion and bloating, and that's just for starters. So remember the name, Acidophilus Ultra from New Roots Herbal. Get some now. To find a store near you, visit newrootsherbal.com. That's newrootsherbal.com.
VMware is a fresh perspective for virtualization on the cloud. Shaping the future, this all in one platform delivers virtual cloud service on any cloud. Visit our healthylife.net's advertiser page and click on VMware.
When you have a food allergy or dietary limitation, Dr. Theresa NIcassio knows it's hard to give up the foods you love, so she decided to put on her chef hat and give you affordable, personalized culinary consultations that will light up your taste buds. You'll explore substitute ingredients so you can enjoy your favorite foods again. She'll even help you make food preparation easy and guide you on your path to healthy living. And to get started, all you have to do is call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
For the best in business class travel, count on Cheapo Air. Cheapo Air has the best price guarantee, 24/7 customer service, and easy booking online or by phone. To experience your hassle-free journey, start by going to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Cheapo Air.
There's a book that makes it so easy to embrace a healthy, gluten-free lifestyle, even kids will like it. Filled with heartwarming stories, food as medicine health tips, easy allergy-free recipes, and creative culinary inventions, the award-winning book Yum by Dr. Theresa NIcassio is your source for all of this and more. So make gluten-free living easy, tasty, and fun. Get Yum, plant-based recipes for a gluten-free diet at Amazon.com or visit yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to the Dr. Theresa NIcassio Show. For those of you who are just joining us, today we're talking about farts with naturopathic doctor and homeopath Dr. David Miller. Before I forget, David, can you talk a little bit about SORLEX, your product that you've created, the homeopathic remedy, and the special gifts that you are offering for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So years and years ago, I kept finding that everyone was coming to me with problems with cold sores, and nothing really worked. So I wasn't really busy in clinic when you first start. So I put my nose down and got working on a remedy of 5 homeopathic medicines, which in combination, they work amazing for prevention and treatment of cold sores. I think everyone's going to hear about this product sometime. It doesn't work well for a natural product. It works better than anything that I can see out there. And I'd love everyone to, the Canadian people who are listening, go to sorlex.ca and use the nicest badass discount code, and you'll get a special gift from me just for tuning in, and hopefully you can help yourself or someone with cold sores. It works really, really great.
Yeah, it's really talk about another area of of embarrassment, and we don't really have a lot of good information. I think down the road it would be wonderful if you'd be willing to come back to maybe talk more about cold sores and about that. I just think it would be an awesome conversation.
I'd love
so,
to.
guys, if you forget all this stuff, just go to TheresaNIcassio.com, click on go to the radio shows and click on Dr. David's profile page. All the information's there, and actually it's hyperlinked right to his page. So, and it even has the discount code on the page. So it's for the listeners and those who are visiting his page, and that would be great. Then that's opening up a whole other thing about homeopathy that it would be lovely to talk more about down the road. But, back to farts. That's what we're here talking about. We were just talking about the microbiome and how things can get out of whack, how some of those the bacteria that belong in the colon can migrate up into the small intestine. Things happen, as you can say it in many ways. But anyway, with that, are probiotics helpful or not? I mean, what are some of your thoughts about probiotics, about enzymes, digestive enzymes? If the underlying structure, if there's issues, are they even helpful, or is it worth talking to your healthcare professional about that? Or just share with us some of your thoughts.
Yeah, wonderful question. So let's talk about enzymes. I think enzymes are wonderful. They're generally part of if I was just to give someone some basic treatment advice to tonify digestion or make digestion better, digestive enzymes would always be part of that, and I think you've probably experienced some help with that. What may lead you to think someone needs digestive enzymes with lipase in them more would be if your stools actually stick to the toilet. If you have a sort of traditional North American toilet with the normal amount of water in the bottom, the stools stick to the bottom. It's a good sign that you're not digesting fats, and it's a good sign that some lipase in a digestive enzyme might help. And digestion is just breaking things down, everyone. That's basically what digestion is. It's breaking big pieces down into little pieces that we reassemble into other stuff. So anything that helps break things down can be very helpful to digestion. That's why bitters, digestive enzymes, betaine, HCl, so increasing your stomach acid can be very, very helpful. Now, probiotics have specifically been shown to be very helpful in treating flatulence and IBS. Probiotics and antibiotics, believe it or not. So there's some antibiotics that work really well for these people that have a more constipation predominant profile. So these are people that are making more methane. And I should say that because we're talking about farts. Methane has been correlated with constipation. So if you have a more sort of slow, sluggish bowel, you have more likely methane. These people tend to do a little bit better than just placebo. They do well with taking something like neomycin, which is a pretty hard-hitting antibiotic, or sometimes they'll do well with rifaximin. So antibiotics help a lot of the time. Probiotics help all the time, if you pick the right ones. But we could do a whole show on probiotics. Like to say probiotics help is, some academics would say that's a bit too broad. So a lot of probiotics help, and some better than others.
Yeah, that's one of the areas that Dr. Fasano is doing some research in, because I said, which probiotics, which ones? And he's like, that's the $1 million question, because they really don't know, and it's been a lot of stabbing in the dark, and he's concerned about the random use of probiotics because of just the uncertainty about what are we doing. Are we recreating the antibiotic crisis that we've created now, right, with the resistance? We don't know. So he's really curious about testing. He definitely, knows that they are beneficial, or they can be beneficial, but we are really on the cutting edge of just starting to learn really about those. So that's great information though about some of the differences. And obviously, if someone has SIBO, then there's the antibiotics that likely is that the primary treatment of choice then for SIBO, or are there other natural remedies that some folks can use and have you found have some success with?
Yeah, so you can use lots of different antimicrobials. There's natural antimicrobials, and they tend to work a lot of the time. Natural antimicrobials work better in conjunction with antibiotics and antibiotics alone. Now in Ontario, Canada, I'm not able to prescribe antibiotics, so I'm limited in that way. If I was able to prescribe antibiotics, rifaximin would probably be the one that I would consider for some cases of SIBO. But there's so many things you can use, and like you almost have to step back, take a step back and go, okay, are you constipated? Sure, you have flatulence and all this stuff, but are you constipated and you don't poo enough? Well, there's simple things we can do to try and get you to start pooing more. We have to have more bowel movements, So start simple. That's sort of the way I work, Theresa, is we can do all the SIBO testing, spend $1,000 on this test and that test, but if you're constipated, there's things we know to address that, and they need to be addressed first. But one of the herbs that may be very helpful for flatulence is ginger, and another one would be enteric-coated peppermint capsules. I think these would be a really good adjunct to whatever sort of treatment you're doing. And ginger, hopefully it's just in your fridge, and you can have ginger tea. It's a carminative. It's going to help with the gas. It's also going to help with a sort of laxative effect. It also helps with nausea. It's an amazing herb that's just sitting there in the supermarket shelf.
Yes, it's TCM. It's one of those glorified awesome ones. David, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fantastic having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, it was either the best or the worst thing I did, and I think it's the best.
Yes, I agree. All right, great. Well, and thank all of you out there listening and tuning in to this show today. I hope you've enjoyed the program. I want to especially thank our show sponsor, New Roots Herbal, for making the show possible. Be sure to join us next time when we'll be hearing all about how 20 late-stage terminal cancer patients beat the odds. For more information about the show and to access lots of free wellness resources, be sure to visit my website at TheresaNicassio.com. I'm Theresa, and this has been the Dr. Theresa NIcassio Show. Until next time, have a great week.
There's a book that makes it so easy to embrace a healthy, gluten-free lifestyle, even kids will like it. Filled with heartwarming stories, food as medicine health tips, easy allergy-free recipes, and creative culinary inventions, the award-winning book Yum by Dr. Theresa NIcassio is your source for all of this and more. So make gluten-free living easy, tasty, and fun. Get Yum, plant-based recipes for a gluten-free diet at Amazon.com. Or visit yumfoodforliving.com. That's yumfoodforliving.com.
Shh! Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
When you have a food allergy or dietary limitation, Dr. Theresa NIcassio knows it's hard to give up the foods you love, so she decided to put on her chef hat and give you affordable, personalized culinary consultations that will light up your taste buds. You'll explore substitute ingredients so you can enjoy your favorite foods again. She'll even help you make food preparation easy and guide you on your path to healthy living. And to get started, all you have to do is call 604-445-6463. That's 604-445-6463.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.